The Epstein files are continuing to cause controversy, and according to newly released emails, Sarah Ferguson visited paedophile Jeffrey Epstein 5 days after his release from prison for child sex crimes and took her adult daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, then aged 19 and 20, with her to his Florida home, where they were served vegetable lasagna for lunch. Prior to this, the princesses have never publicly confirmed meeting Epstein. So should Beatrice and Eugenie face the same public criticism as their mother? It's a very difficult question, Jane. We've all, gone along to things. You do things you don't quite understand, maybe the audience that will be there. It does seem clear that we knew he had just been released, in fact, so we knew his crimes at that point. How should we view the whole situation at that point?
Did we know in 2009?
Well, not to the extent of what we know now,
yeah,
certainly.
I mean, I think there's every chance that Sarah Ferguson would have known,
yes.
But I don't think I knew. I didn't even know who Jeffrey Epstein was in 2009.
Yes, but so, she did.
So the fact that, he'd undergone this jail term in America wasn't necessarily on my radar. And unless their mother told them, is it really going to be on the radar of a 19 and a 20-year-old girl? They're probably just like, Mum just said, we're off to go and get another freebie, which we know she loves, staying with Uncle Jeffrey or whoever in Florida. And they would have just gone along as young adults as they were then do. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. And when you put all of this back through the prism of what we know now and apply it to then of course it looks bad. But I don't think a 19 and 20-year-old girls would have had the first clue what he'd been up to. They just took their mother's word that they were going off for a nice holiday, and off they trotted. So no, I don't think so. I mean, I think what they do now is going to be interesting because there've been a lot of rumours that one of them in particular, Eugenie, was not speaking to her father, but that was later denied. But I do wonder because, in public, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have both sort of been saying to us constantly, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. We cut off contact. Clearly they didn't. Now, if they said that to their daughters, if I was their daughters, I'd be now thinking, well, have I been lied to by my parents? Seeing all these sort of tranche of emails coming out. So I think that's a more difficult conversation for them. And obviously, we've just had some news in that Sarah Ferguson's charity, Sarah's Trust, is closing down for the foreseeable future because obviously her name now associated with anything is not good news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually it's a very messy situation for the girls as for the princesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they do next because I mean, like Jane said, I was thinking about the case with Jeremy Clarkson. I thought his daughter Emily was incredibly brave to kind of speak out and condemn what Jeremy had said about Meghan Markle in his column. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, that's a brave thing to do because your parent, Jeremy is such a big character, got a huge following, but she was like, actually, I'm not going with that narrative, and I think what you said, Dad, is out of order. That's quite brave, I think quite a brave thing to do.
I do.
And do it publicly.
Would you want Beatrice and Eugenie to do something like that? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of high-profile lawyers involved here.
Yes, I think that's a completely, a very difficult situation because he's a convicted paedophile, whereas Jeremy said things that I think are, for me, disgraceful. But at the same time, this is a very different thing. Do I want them to do it? I think it depends on how they feel, because I think if you then say something, you're also then going to shine more light on it and have more people having that conversation about what you don't want to have the conversation about. Whereas if you stay quiet, and hopefully this story will go. We know there's going to be a lot more emails to come, so hopefully, there'll be something that maybe shot shines a bit more of a light in a different direction, which takes the heat off of them completely. It's totally up to them.
I just think when you're that age, what were they, 19 and 20?
Yeah.
And I think it's a really tricky age, isn't it, with your parents? Because I think for a long time your parents are very much in control and dictate your life, and especially at that level when everything is so geared towards money and socialising, and, you know, they're very much kind of, like, who knows who was kind of paying for everything at that time. I think we kind of know through the emails. But, you know, I just think back to, like, being invited as an 18-year-old by my parents to raffles or pub openings or things because I was on television, and I found myself in some really kind of unsavoury situations to appease my parents. So I was kind of there to, you know, just kind of be, you know, a member of the family and doing it because they wanted me to. And then in hindsight, you kind of look back and you think, oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't have been in that situation, and maybe I should have said no. But you're so young at that age, you know, you want to be... You want to just go along with it. And if your mum and dad are saying, oh, come to this thing, you're going to go, you trust them. And at what age do you kind of go, oh, actually, my parents are actually flawed people that make bad decisions. They're not just my parents. They're human beings at the end of the day that make mistakes. And that seems to be what's happened in this situation. And the girls, unfortunately, were probably too young to make that decision and probably didn't, like you say, Jane, didn't have the information, didn't know the extent of the crimes at that time.
What their life was. I mean, you know, you think, oh, well, it's obviously a very wealthy person. Of course, you would know something about them. But look at their lives. They were surrounded by, you know, lots of very influential people a lot of the time. It wasn't an unusual situation necessarily, albeit, as we say, their mother did know, but that's not to say...
But that's where I think as a parent, we have to take that position of responsibility of what we expose our children to. So, you know, obviously, I don't know what situation Sarah was in, why she made that decision, why she thought that was a good idea. But I can only speak for myself as a parent. I think I have to be conscious. I am conscious of what I do. I am conscious of what I post. I am conscious of what I expose them to. Because at the end of the day, I say it here, it's fine, but then somebody's going to pull that up, have a comment about it. There will be that chat amongst other parents, and it does get to my children. The amount of times I've said something and they come back and go, Mummy, you talked about my feet or whatever on Loose Women today. And so I am cautious about what I say, and I just think as parents we do need to take that responsibility too.
Yeah. We do know that Sarah Ferguson, of course, continued, Jane, to now, of course, say it was a terrible, terrible error of judgment.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very messy, and like we say, every day there's new information being unveiled. It feels like it's not going away. That's for sure.